Hi guys, so today we're going to talk about how to deal with issues when things go wrong on Lipi Exchange. Um, so the two main things we are going to talk about today is who is to blame when actually an experience goes wrong, and what to do when an EPs are actually already facing problem when they're overseas. So imagine usually right how AIESEC Exchange works is that one LC send an EP, another LC hosts the EP, but then it gets a bit complicated when an EP is actually having a problem when they're overseas because technically, yes, the host LC is hosting them, but then again, who is sending the EP? So the question is who is wrong? Whose responsibility is it when things goes when things is not going according to plan? Uh, this is the conundrum, right? Yes, one it's easy to blame the other LC because technically they're hosting the experience, and then when things goes wrong, it's easy to blame them. When logistically things don't turn out well, it's easy to blame them. So and then you can say all you want. Oh, this is not my fault. This is not my fault. This is your fault. Because you're so far away, you send your EP. That's all you need to do, right? But it's not the case because if you think about it, I'll ask you this question: can an exchange in AIESEC be facilitated only by one LC? The answer is simple. It's no, 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 and it's as simple as that because essentially AIESEC, it's an exchange organization. We work together. So an entity send an EP overseas, another entity hosts them, and you work together to actually co-deliver these experiences. So the question is now I'll ask you the same question again. So whose responsibility is it when an EP experience goes wrong? The answer is simple. Obviously, it's both sides. So it's everyone responsible. So you as a sending entity is responsible as well because you as a sending entity actually sell this product, get an EP to actually buy this product first place, and you make them promises. And when things don't go according to plan, you need to take responsibility as well. You can't just put the blame on them. We are AIESEC as an organization. We operate together as an organization. We are not one LC. This is my LC, that's your LC kind of. So next, we are just going to talk about how we are going to actually solve all this problem, especially when we are far away from each other. So your EP is overseas, you are here, it's a bit hard to talk, but then when there's problem, there's this structure that you should follow. So you should try first to resolve the problem at LC level. So try to talk to the TN manager overseas, or even your EP, your EP buddy overseas as well, and try to resolve this problem on LC level. Ensure that during every step of this communication, your VP or TL is involved or is aware of the situation. So they just need to know what's happening in case anything happen, anything, but you need their help. They can help you as well as quickly as possible because they have an overview or understanding of the situation. And then if a problem cannot be resolved on LC level, your VP, you can ask your VP to actually start contacting the MCVP or the NSD responsible. So that the national committee from our side can get in touch with the national committee on their side and try to resolve it on national level. Um, and national intervention is a powerful, I guess, solution as well. But in like rare cases where national committee also cannot resolve these differences, the MC will lodge a complaint to EP's behalf to ICB. ICB is actually um, ICB is International Control Board. It's like an kind of an external part of AIESEC who do third party assessment on a certain issue or certain problem. And basically they'll try to resolve the conflict and come with best solution for all parties involved. So the EP is the hosting entity and our entities, your LC as well. Um, just a general tips when you're contacting VP of hosting country, please CC your VP in that email. So this is not because as a member you can't contact a VP or anything like that. It's just to make sure that they are aware your VP is involved in the process as well. Because if your VP is not involved, why would their VP be involved, kind of thing? Because the problem shouldn't be that big. So this is the actual action step of things that we can actually do when an EP is complaining. Mm. So before we can actually resolve any problem at all, we need to understand what the problem is. So we need to ask the AP what is wrong, how bad is the situation, has she or he done anything to try to improve the situation. Just try to get to know how how bad is the problem and why is it bad for them, why is it bad for them. And from there, we know the problem, we know the overview of the problem, we get in touch with the TN manager. We need to do it immediately because you need to talk. you know it's a EP is like our customer. You need to satisfy them as well. You need to make them happy with the product, with their experience, and in that sense you need to resolve any of their problem, including this, as soon as possible. uh, get in touch with TN manager. If the TN manager don't reply within 24 hours, send a follow-up email to both the TN manager and the VP involved. This is because, again, just a problem, you want to resolve it as soon as possible, and they should be responsive. And after you hear from them the explanation of the situation, all the stuff things they have done, blah blah blah, try to analyze the situation. Imagine yourself as a customer, as an outsider, uh, viewing the situation. Try to see what is actually wrong, and try to come up with a proposal of things that can be done. uh, and basically why you have to act as third party, right? You don't want to offend anyone. You don't want to just offend your hosting entity, because you'll be like, hey, my EP is having shit experience. Why don't you do something about it? Because that's not right. Because maybe potentially they are not aware of this problem. The EP might not have told them. So you don't want to just accuse anyone of anything, doing anything wrong before you actually know. And don't be biased, because you can be biased as well. Of course, you'll be biased towards your EP because he or she is your EP, and he or she is your friend or something. But you shouldn't. And try. Uh, and then next, you just have to propose a solution to all parties involved. So make sure the host LC knows of the action step, your EPs know of the action step, your VP is aware of everything as well. Basically, we just, and most importantly, your EP. And the important question to ask is, are you happy with the solution? Are you not happy with it? What can be improved? If you're happy, make sure you implement it. Communicate this to your TN manager, to your VP, to the VPICX involved. Make sure all parties knows of what to do, and make sure you follow up at least for the next week or so, to make sure all this solution is being implemented to support the EP experience. If not, continue discussion. Talk more with your EP, discuss more with the TN manager or VPICX as well. Try to come to a compromise to actually try to resolve and improve the EP situation as soon as possible. Because what's important is not actually, this is not my fault, this is not your fault, this is your fault, this is your fault, blah blah blah. Not putting blame on anyone or avoiding the mistake. Is actually about taking responsibility and actually making sure that the EP is going to have a good experience when they are overseas. And yeah, here are just some more tips of things that you can do. So during discussion, make sure everyone is updated, or involved in the discussion. Make sure they have their inputs. So this is create that sense of ownership of wanting to deliver better EP experience. And make sure your EPs are aware, because when they're in this kind of stress, or like pressure of not being happy with the situation they're in, you just need to make sure that they know they're being looked after by you at least. Or of course, it'll be better if like maybe TN manager or even VP ICX can talk to them as well. And you need to understand that your EP is overseas. It's a hard situation to be overseas on your own for a long time, having to volunteer, being in a familiar situation, having to work with people from cultures you have never experienced before. It's hard, and you need to understand that this can be hard if your EP is at fault, for example, right? You just can't blame them, or the EP is complaining for over small matters. You can't just be like, suck it up. It's not the way it works. You need to comfort them, because it's hard experience. If you haven't been on exchange, go on exchange as well, because then you will understand their like problem. Um, and next thing you have to remember is actually to start doing things now, not later. You want to make sure all these problems are resolved as soon as possible because it might impact the experience of the EP for the longest time. So I guess next we are just going to talk about some case study of things that have, I guess, happen quite often, and I'll go through just a sample, I guess, a brief action steps that you can take in case anything happen. Uh, so the first case study is just on work. So the EP is not working as specified in the JD or job description or the TM form. EP is not happy with the current work and just wants to leave the project. What what can be done? You should pause here. I'll just move on. When you figure out your solution, continue the video and you will see the solution that I have proposed. So next, um, what we are going to do is first we have to try to make alternative arrangement, right? We need to find out why the JD is not working. Is it the TN taker's fault? Is it the organization fault for not organizing or over recruiting, under recruiting, whatever? And with the same LC, if there's possibility, right? Ask the LC if or the hosting and the LC that your EP is in. Ask them if your EP can be involved in another project that is actually similar or has similar JD to your EP's initial project. So, for example, if your EP is initially promised an education project but end up planting tree, that's not really aligned JD, right? So, for example, maybe instead of teaching in kindergarten, now your EP have to teach in like maybe primary school. So it's not that much difference. A lot more similar, and it's commonly available as well. For example, in Poland, you have international kindergarten project, and then you have I actually can't remember their junior high project, but they enter your future and all these project that involves primary school, high school students even, and give your EP these options. If not, another LC that offers similar projects, so try to ask the current hosting entity if there's another LC in the region or in the area that actually offer an education project to just help your EP to make your EP feel better and maybe take on your EP on that project as well. This is and the last thing is not very recommended, but if your EP really hates the experience, really refuse to do anything about it, your partly is their fault as well for not being flexible enough, partly your fault as well because the JD is not um, aligned. So this is the worst case scenario. Talk to it to your VP or even MC. Maybe offer your EP another exchange experience for the project or social issue that she's really passionate about, and actually offer the alternatives to this project next time. Um, and also you need to ask your EP in case like the project is changed or anything like that. You need to know. You just need to ask if he or she still gets the things she wants to get from the experience, because essentially you need to know what matters. Sometimes things don't go right and you need to accept that sometimes. And if it's already going, I guess, for a bit of time, for like 5 weeks, oh no, it hasn't, like last week on exchange, and then this thing happened, the JD suddenly changed totally and the EP is really unhappy about it. But the most important question is, throughout this whole exchange, right? Is the EP still getting anything from this experience? If he or she does, I guess, make sure they see the value of this experience, why they want to go in the first place, and try to actually, make them understand that you might not always get what you want. Okay, that was bad. But anyways, let's move on to the second case study. So the accommodation is bad and the EP is demanding to be moved to new better accommodation with aircon, hot water, and proper kitchen. What can we do? So we need to analyze the state of accommodation. Is it really that bad? Or Is it just because the EP expectation is not that good? Being in Australia, I guess we are blessed with good accommodation, proper hot water supply, drinking water, whatever. It's easily accessible. But in some countries, not. For example, in in Thailand, if you have to work in the rural community in their Savasti project, uh, then you can't expect that kind of accommodation all the time. Uh, so we need to actually start asking the EV, how bad is the accommodation? Is it just that they don't have aircon? Is it just that uh, they don't have hot water supply? If they're in a tropical country, it's not that bad per se, um, to not have hot water. So, but if it's really, really, really bad, for example, there are mice under the bed, there are like cockroaches everywhere, then probably that's bad, right? So you should, if that in that case, you should contact the host LC immediately, ask for alternative arrangement, what kind of things they can do, maybe find a temporary host family and then move the EP onto another hostel. All this stuff can actually be done. It might not be easy, but it can be done almost. Hopefully, it can be done as soon as possible, because you at the end of the day, right? You don't want logistical issue to actually make the EP feel experience to destroy an EP experience. Logistical issue should be the least of the problem. The most What's the most important thing on all AIESEC exchanges is actually the actual impactful socially impactful experiences of the actual work and the actual cultural interaction, not only the accommodation. So just before we end, I just have last words on this topic of essentially resolving problem. Uh, you need to be aware that communication is key, because if you see all these solutions, right, you have to talk a lot, to TN managers, to host LCs, your EPs, and all this stuff. And you want to build way way before they go on exchange. You want to build this good communication, good relationship, have constant communication. Because why? Imagine if you're a friend, you would rather go out with your friend than with someone who wants you, a stranger, or someone who wants you only when they need you, right? uh and essentially this is the key. You It's the same, right? You don't want TN manager will hate you because suddenly you find them only because your EP have problem. If not, you wouldn't want to know them, kind of thing. You want to build all this relationship, because essentially when you build or have this connection with people, it's easier to resolve problems. And the other thing is, act now. Don't try to put the blame on anyone else. This is not my fault, this is your fault. Is not as important as actually figuring out a solution and actually getting to a solution, finding a solution, and actually acting on it, and actually find response. Because ultimately an EP experience is everyone's responsibility, and you want the experience to be good. If you don't be here, because it matters a lot. mm, and so that's it for today.